It's easy to watch elected officials and people in positions of power today and think, am I crazy? Didn't they just say the opposite of this not too long ago? I'm going to walk you through this, and then I'm going to tell you what's really going on with the Biden administration's vaccine mandate. And nobody seems to be getting this right. Here is Jen Psaki just a couple months ago. She's the White House press secretary. And when asked about a national vaccine mandate, she said, that's not our job.
Is that a sign that perhaps the federal government should step in and issue mandates? And if not, are you putting the needs of unvaccinated people ahead of the needs of vaccinated people?
Well, I think the question here, one, that's not the role of the federal government. That is the role that institutions, private sector entities, and others may take. That certainly is appropriate. Also, local communities are going to take steps they need to take in order to protect people in their communities. I will say we understand her frustration, and we understand the frustration of leaders out there and public voices who are trying to say the right thing, advocate for the efficacy of the virus, save people in their communities. What our role is, and what we are going to continue to do, is make the vaccine available. We're going to continue to work in partnership to fight misinformation, and we're going to continue to advocate and work in partnership with local officials and trusted voices to get the word out.
Oh my, how things have changed. No vaccine mandates. That's not the business of the federal government. But snap to today, here is Jen Psaki saying, guess what, federal employees, all 9 million of you, you have 75 days to get vaccinated or pack your
There will be
bags.
limited exceptions for legally recognized reasons, such as disability or religious objections. I know you have all seen the reporting on this, but let me just give you a few top lines of it. So how this will work is the task force, the interagency task force, will provide a ramp-up period, and we expect federal employees will have about 75 days to be fully vaccinated. That gives people more than enough time, in our view, to start and complete their vaccination series. If a federal worker fails to comply, they will go through the standard HR process, which includes counseling and face disciplinary action, face progressive disciplinary action.
Yeah.
Each agency is going to
Progressive disciplinary action ending in firing, so they say. But wait, I'm going to tell you how everybody's getting this wrong just a moment from now. However, the note there is if you don't get the jab, you got to go to counseling for all these 9 million federal employees. Well, let's go back to President-elect Joe Biden. What was he saying about mask mandates in the middle of a huge wave in the pandemic? Here he is.
No, I don't think it should be mandatory. I wouldn't demand to be mandatory, but I would do everything in my power, just like I don't think masks have to be made mandatory nationwide. I'll do everything in my power as the President of the United States to encourage people to do the right thing, and when they do it, demonstrate that it matters.
So there he goes. I wouldn't mandate the vaccine, but let's go to President Biden last night. This ain't about your freedoms. This is not about freedom, friends.
This is not about freedom or personal choice. It's about protecting yourself and those around you, the people you work with, the people you care about, the people you love. My job as president is to protect all Americans. So tonight, I'm announcing that the Department of Labor is developing an emergency rule to require all employers with 100 or more employees that together employ over 80 million workers to ensure their workforces are fully vaccinated or show a negative test at least once a week. Some of the biggest companies are already requiring this. The bottom line, we're going to protect vaccinated workers from unvaccinated coworkers.
Excuse me? What out? We're going to protect vaccinated workers from unvaccinated coworkers. Vaccinated workers from unvaccinated coworkers. This is something that the Biden administration continues to do. And this happens with virtually everything out there. It's a method for control. If you say that everybody is in a situation where they're in control of their own personal responsibility, then you don't get to have the power to make people do things. To have power, you need to have people in a situation where they need help. So you have to act like these vaccinated employees are now at risk from their unvaccinated coworkers, which is a really, really tiny chance that anything would happen there, that somebody would get a breakthrough infection or that they would be hospitalized or whatever. There's a risk here that's being wildly overstated and used as a weapon to get that control that these folks want. Let's keep going. What about the head of this mess? Mr. Fauci himself, what is he saying about national vaccine mandates?
You know, I don't think we've ever had a situation where you mandate it for the general population. So let me give you some example of mandating. So I'm a physician. I see patients in my hospital right literally out the window here across the hall at the NIH Clinical Center. During the flu season, the administration of the hospital mandates that I have to get a flu vaccine. Otherwise, I won't be able to see patients the way I usually do. That has not happened ever, to my knowledge, at a national level or even at a state level. So I can see individual institutions mandating a vaccine. I don't see it on a national level, merely because of all the situations you have upon encroaching upon persons' freedom to make their own choice.
All right, so that's previous Fauci in July of 2020. How's he doing these days? Let's see what he thinks about a national vaccine mandate now.
There are a number of people, for one reason or other, who just do not want to comply and get vaccinated. We've got to get them vaccinated. And hopefully they will do it willingly. If not, there will have to be things that will essentially put pressure on them, such as you're not going to work in this particular agency or institution. You're not going to be able to go to this college or this university unless, in fact, you get vaccinated. And I believe that once we start doing that, you will see more and more people willingly get vaccinated.
Now, Fauci almost gave it away right there. What's really happening here? What's truly going on? Because there are, as you know, about 9 million federal employees and contractors who are tied up in this. 9 million people who could be fired as a result of not getting the vaccine. And of those 9 million people, about 40% of them are people of color. And let's take it wider. You've got 80 plus million people who are working with private companies with over 100 employees. That's a lot of companies. Now, the reason that they're saying the federal employees have no choice, right? If you're a federal employee and you don't want to get the vaccine, you're going to be disciplined, you're going to have to go to counseling, and you're going to get fired. That's the pathway that this leads to. If you're a private sector employee, they're telling your employers that either you can mandate that your employees get the vaccine or you could do weekly testing for all of them. If you have over 100 employees, it doesn't take a genius to realize that gets expensive to continue testing these people. And weekly testing isn't going to do much anyhow. So this is meant to be something that becomes a cost and a burden too great and meant to make companies with over 100 employees, again, 80 million people affected by this, nearly 100 million people in total, but it's meant to get those companies in a position where they just flat out mandate the vaccine. The problem with all of this is, what are you going to do? Now, we can do what the Biden administration often does and pretend that everybody who isn't vaccinated or is a holdout is some hillbilly, Trump supporting, make America great again, hat wearing guy. But that's not the case. There are men, there are women, there are white people, there are black people, there are people from all different backgrounds who are resistant to getting the vaccine for a multitude of reasons. And I find it insanely hard to believe that in the federal government alone, let's say you've got a big percentage of those, let's say 100,000, 200,000, let's say 1 million people out of the 9 million people that work for the federal government or contractors refuse to do this. You think the Biden administration is going to fire millions of people? You think they'll fire millions of people? That's a catastrophe. Do you think they'll fire hundreds of thousands of people of color who then very likely can't get insurance or can't get any money after they've tried to apply for funds from unemployment? Their unemployment benefits will be denied because they refuse the vaccine mandate. In most states, you don't get that money. So this is a big deal, and it's a bluff. That's the obvious thing that so many people are missing. Let me know if you agree with me in the comments. This is a bluff. In Orange County, where I am right now, in Orange County, They suggested that all of the county employees had to be vaccinated. They set a deadline. That deadline arrived. Only 55% of the county employees were registered. And like in all these other places, the unions rose up and they said, we don't want to deal with this. The unions are allies of the Democratic Party, hence the unions are allies of the Biden administration. And so they're against this as well. And they don't want all these people fired by the millions and millions and millions. It will never, ever happen. So in Orange County, when they hit 55% of the county workforce that had been vaccinated, what do? They extended the date. And what will they do when we get to that? And it's like 60% or 60%. They're going to extend the date again. And they keep extending that date, firing no one in the process. They keep extending that date until COVID numbers come down so low in this country that it doesn't really matter anymore. And you can't justify firing anybody over this to begin with. This is a bluff. This is meant to intimidate people into getting the vaccine. And that's exactly the strategy that the Biden administration is employing here. Do you really think they're going to fire millions of people? You think they'll fire millions of people who won't be able to get employment? No way. Unemployment, I mean. They will not be able to get unemployment, and it will be a catastrophe of headlines that the Biden administration is facing if they make that move. There's just no way that it happens. But those are big changes, are they not? From what all of those people said months ago to what they're saying right now, it's almost as if they think you're stupid, that you wouldn't remember this. But we remember, right? Tell me what you think in the comments. If you like this video, please hit that share button to share this with a friend to spread the word. If you're new around here, at facebook.com/thenewsjunkie, hit that follow button for videos just like this every single day. And thanks to my supporters on Facebook as well. Over on youtube.com/thenewsjunkie, hit the subscribe button. And I appreciate you watching this video. I look forward to your comments. We'll talk to you again real soon.